there it is. Okay. Ready? All set? Yep, they did. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the Personnel Administration Affairs Committee, and I'd like to have the clerk call the roll at 7:02.
I would be happy to. Alderman Karen.
Here.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Here.
Alderman at Large Lori Wilshire is here. Alderman Lopez, not here. Alderman Gidge.
Yes.
Present. And we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. So we'll start the meeting with public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Okay, no one. All right, then we'll continue on with our interviews. And we have Derek from the mayor's office who will be introducing the nominees. Okay. Derek, you can call them up. Is Conservation Commission Mike Rinke here? No? Okay, so we'll go to Cultural Connections.
Yeah, so the first one from the Cultural Connections that the mayor has nominated is Amanda Martinez. Amanda has a really strong resume. She's got a lot of experience. She's,
May I stop you for a minute?
Yep.
If Amanda's here and Paul's here, you can have them come sit
Oh, I'm
while you
sorry.
speak to them? No,
Yes.
that's okay.
It's my
Thank
first
you.
time.
That's okay, Derek.
Amanda, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
So you can give a little resume on both of them, on them, one at a time, and then we'll have the committee speak.
Okay.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you. All right. So Amanda, she's got a strong resume. She's got a lot of experience, including currently she's the executive director of the Latino STEM Alliance in Boston, an organization that provides STEM programming to underserved students, schools, and community members across the state. She's also on the Diversity Council for the Big Sisters, Association of Greater Boston. We think the mayor thinks she'd be an excellent asset to the Cultural Connections Committee.
Good. Amanda, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I just wanted to make one correction since I submitted this. I have left Latino STEM Alliance, but I am the former executive director. I am now consulting in nonprofit as well as diversity and inclusion for nonprofits and other organizations in New Hampshire as well as Massachusetts.
Thank you. And let record show that Alderman Lopez has arrived.
And
Thank
I
you.
apologize for moving Paul.
That's okay. Thank you.
In addition to that, I would just like to say that I am newer to Nashua. I've been here for about 2 years, but my passion has always been in culture, in diversity and inclusion, whether it be in my home, in my community, and or in the school systems, in the communities that I participate in. So I am very excited to actually join this committee because I think the more the merrier, number one, to be able to bring more diversity to our city, but also to help the city and the citizens celebrate the diversity as well as be inclusive, as well as be have the equity going along with it and everything that we can try to represent for our community.
Well, thank you very much. Do we have any questions from members? Alderman Wilshire.
I don't have a question, just an observation. Thank you so much. You're just what we need on that committee. Yeah, I was very impressed with your resume and your, obviously, what you had to say tonight. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve there. I think you'll be a great fit.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Well, as we say to all the volunteers who want to come out to the committee, welcome aboard. We will take up your nomination later on, but as Alderman Wilshire says, you have a great resume, and we can always use new, innovative people on our committees. Okay, who's your next one, Derek?
Okay, next we have Paul Hanampa. All right. So Paul is currently the bilingual parish and community outreach coordinator for New Hampshire Catholic Charities. The role that the mayor thinks would make him a perfect fit for Cultural Connections, as he, that's often what he does on a daily basis, and he's forming those connections at work. He's also a tutor and volunteer for Nashua PAL. the Catholic Charities rep for the Corpus Christi Board of Directors, and a member of the Peruvian United Association. So he's really got a lot of skin in the game in the community. He's also a graduate of Nashua South, correct? Yeah, so he's definitely passionate about Nashua, and the mayor thinks he would make a great fit on Cultural Connections.
Thank you. Paul, oh,
Jumping the gun, sorry.
Paul, would you like to add something to that? Thank you.
Yes. I've come back to work in Nashua on September 25th of 2017. I've been trying to come back to Nashua to work in the community, not kind of doing the work myself, but working with along many people that are here already making the city great. And I'm very happy to be back here. I stated, I'm a Nashua South graduate. I came to this country to Nashua in 2005, and I graduated in 2009. And Nashua has changed a lot, and I like the changes that are happening, and I think we can definitely. I want to help bridge the gap between some of the communities as well as promote the diversity that this city has.
Thank you. Any questions? Alderman Kelly.
I just want to make a comment that I'm so happy that you came back. Our city is growing, and you're right. Having people come back in and be part of our city is really an important part of how we're shaping what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Gidge? Alderman Gidge? I'm sorry, Alderman Lopez.
Hi.
I apologize.
wondering why
That's
you're
why
saying
you weren't talking.
It's Monday.
So,
Monday.
yeah, I just want to observe that Paul has dived in with both feet. He's already helping organize the Tree Streets Block Party. Particularly, he's helping with the rice tasting competition. And in my opinion, a lot of things that bring people together, regardless of culture, are food, music, and celebrating their positive common things. And with the Tree Streets Block Party being kind of like a cultural festival in disguise. Not well disguised, but it's one of the major hallmarks of the Tree Street. So that's kind of the theme we're doing. Paul has been very energetic and very motivated. He's very, very intelligent, and he's very quick to take ownership of roles that he's doing, to step forward and make things happen. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him in the Cultural Connections Committee. I think they have a very good dynamic underway there with people who are willing to step forward and commit to action, to celebrate diversity, people who may not think or see things exactly like they do, but are willing to listen to their viewpoints and their perspective. I think Paul's going to bring a great positive voice to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Wilson.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. You have an excellent record for community involvement, and thank you for that. I think you're the right fit for this, and thank you for your willingness to do it. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.
And thank you. So if you want to wait, we will take up your nominations later on in the meeting. Thank you. Okay, Derek, your turn.
Okay, so up next, I believe we have, Downtown Improvement Committee and Michael Watt.
Thank you. And just to remind you, please bring the microphones close to you so that they can hear it, so that they can transcribe a lot easier. Thank you. Okay, Derek, you're first.
All right, so Michael's really, in recent years, shown a strong interest in Nashua's downtown. He's a member of the Nashua Holiday Stroll Committee. He's also a member of the Festival Planning Committee that planned New Muse Festival this past weekend, which went great, so thank you for that. And he's also a member of the Mine Falls Park Advisory Committee. And the mayor thinks that his passion for Nashua's downtown is really, what is needed to make the Downtown Improvement Committee thrive. And he thinks that Michael would be an excellent asset to the committee.
Thank you. Michael, welcome. Would you like to say a few words?
Well, I'll keep it brief. I do have a vested interest in the downtown. I want to have it be a success. It's truly our community's postcard. And with these events and projects and everything it does, it really enhances our community. So,
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Alderman Wilshire.
Just a comment, not a question. Thank you for your involvement. I know you've been very active in trying to help move things downtown, like the Performing Arts Center, and, just your involvement with everything you're doing. I think you'd be excellent on the Downtown Improvement Committee, and thank you for your willingness to do that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Okay, as I said, your nomination will come up later on in the meeting, if you'd like to stick around. Thank you.
So lastly, for the Environment and Energy Committee, we have Anita Ardinkala. I believe you go by Arden, correct?
Yes, thank you.
So Arden comes highly recommended by our Waterways Manager, Madeline Mignot. She is currently the Community Programs and Outreach Manager at Boston Solar. Obviously, Nashua is taking some steps toward advocating for solar. We've got our Solarize Nashua campaign going right now, and the mayor thinks that Arden would be a really strong asset to helping with that campaign and also helping with environment and energy measures overall in the city. So we're happy to have her here today.
Thank you. Arden?
Hi. So a couple of things I just wanted to share with you. I used to serve on the Nashua Green Team. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that back in the day, 2006 era. I did that for about 3 years. Really enjoyed that experience, but the team got dissolved, so I wasn't able to continue my volunteer work there. I'm also a volunteer for Citizens Climate Lobby, which is a local, it's a national lobby volunteer group, but it operates locally as well. So I'm in the Southern New Hampshire chapter for that. And in addition to some of the things that you've already discussed, I just wanted to share with you a bit more about the Solarize Nashua campaign, which I've already started to work on. At this point, I'm recruiting volunteers for that campaign. I just did a volunteer orientation this morning with somebody regarding that, volunteer role. Basically, I put on volunteermatch.org, like a volunteer description of what we're looking for Solarize Nashua. It's been posted on social media, and I've already been getting some hits of people reaching out, and I've been giving them orientation. I'm really looking forward to the Solarize campaign and making that a success. That would be my primary goal head on, joining the committee. And I'm hoping actually that there's some contacts in this room that I can talk to a little bit later about that, because I think we can get more contacts involved and really get the community galvanized around that. So other than that, I'm really happy to be here. So
Thank you. Any thoughts? Alderman Wilshire.
I'd just like to say thank you, like I have for everyone. Stepping up and doing all this is just awesome. I'm not really familiar with this campaign, but I'm excited about it. I mean,
Sure.
And just let me say that people in the room are listening, and they heard what you had to say, and people on TV too, right? Whoever's at home watching. So
That's
good
right.
shout out for that, and thank you for your willingness. And it sounds pretty exciting. I mean, solar's the thing now, right? And
Yeah, we're going to make it more of a thing.
good,
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
excellent.
So
Well, thank you.
I'll give you Cliff Notes for Solarize. It's basically a group purchase discount that is going to be offered to the community for a limited time. It's backed by the municipality. We've interviewed a bunch of solar companies on quality, customer experience, and price. So the community can be reassured that the installer has been vetted and they're going to get a good quality installation at a discounted price for a limited time offer. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you.
Alderman Lopez.
Well, as somebody who likes to hoard solar energy and absorb more than his fair share of it, I'm a huge fan of it. And I also think it offers huge opportunities for affordability to people who may have trouble meeting rent, or even landlords who are trying to have a competitive market rate while energy prices are skyrocketing. So I definitely would like to hear more about that Solarize campaign as well.
Fantastic. Well, first off, landlords who have solar in their home actually show higher renter acquisition, so they're twice as likely to get a renter because that's something that really attracts tenants is the idea of clean energy and renewable energy. So that's one benefit. For the Solarize, if you visit the Livable Nashua website, we do have a Solarize section with some information. If you're somebody that's a visual learner, if you look for a YouTube video from the Department of Energy on Solarize, it'll give you a 3-minute instructional video on how to work. Solarize was actually a concept that started in 2010 in Portland, Oregon. And it's something that is spread across the United States. So the Department of Energy is actually very supportive of the concept and actually has a 40-page learner's guide on how Solarize programs work. So I think those would be some really great tools to start. But the crux of it is that a barrier to solar, as you probably know by experience, first is complexity. If you call 6 different solar companies, you're going to get 6 different answers, and that doesn't give buyer confidence. So the average solar sales cycle takes about 2 years from point of consideration to actual installation. And that's just far too long for us to really make movement on renewable energy and impacting climate change. Another barrier to solar is just not only the complexity of the buying process, but because the price has changed so much, cost of solar has gone down so much, people aren't really aware of that. So what happens is the campaign also promotes the discount and the price as to say, hey, this is what the price is, but guess what? We'll make this even more desirable by giving you an additional discount. Because the installer is going to expect now, potentially 100 solar installations from this campaign. We can use economies of scale at that point, and the installer can offer a discounted price because they know the installs are coming. So what that means is that if I'm a Nashua resident, I'm saying to myself, I got to get in on this offer before it expires, which is why the campaign only lasts for 4 or 5 months, because we want to create a sense of urgency. Like, I got to get this discount now. If we offer the discount forever, then people are going to procrastinate and not jump in. So those are the 2 major ways that the Solarize campaigns are really effective. Many Solarize campaigns have gotten 100 installations or more, which is what the Nashua community is goal for. And right now we only have 200 in the community, so that would be a third more installations. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alderman Lopez?
It's slightly a tangential topic, but I figured you might have an idea on it.
Sure.
I was reading recently that using white tar instead of black tar reduces overall city temperature because the surface temperature rises, especially in the warmer months.
Yes.
Are you aware of, or would you advocate for anything like that at the city level?
If I was on the National Environment and Energy Committee, absolutely. I can tell you that.
We use less energy. Yeah.
I can tell you that as a homeowner, I had to replace my roofs, and I used a white rubber roof instead of black. And I also used light gray shingles instead of gray or dark shingles. And the reason for that is because I wanted to reduce my heating costs, my cooling costs from the heat in the summer. And I can tell you by experience, having the white roof and the light gray shingles, I have 2 window air conditioners for my entire house. I have a 2-story home, and I think that's pretty good for having a 2-story home with 3 bedrooms to only have 2 window air conditioners and feel comfortable in the summer. So yes, it does work. White is best.
It just seems like such a simple thing. Why would people believe it? But it apparently is huge.
Anyone else? Alderwoman Kelly.
I just wanted to comment that you clearly are so passionate about this, and I've already had the pleasure of working with you on the committee in an informal capacity. So I'm really excited to have you come on board and bring all that expertise. Solar is
you.
going to happen. We're excited.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we thank you very much for coming, and your nomination will come up later on in the meeting.
May I ask
Sure.
if I do need to leave for another responsibility, that won't impact my nomination,
Oh,
correct? Okay.
absolutely not. No,
Okay.
you will get notified as to the next swearing-in ceremony. Okay.
Thank
That's
you.
no problem. Thank you. That's it, Derek. So the person from Conservation will have to be taken up at another time. Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, any communications?
We have none.
Okay, application to license hawkers, peddlers, vendors license.
We have none.
Okay, appointments by the mayor. I'd like a motion, and we'll take out Mike Renke's name. Alderman Wilshire, will you make a
Sure.
motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend the confirmation of the following appointments by the mayor to the Conservation Commission.
No.
Nope, sorry. To the Cultural Connections Committee, Amanda M. Martinez and Paul Yanampa for terms to expire May 1st, 2021. To the Downtown Improvement Committee, alternate Michael Watt for a term to expire March 31st, 2021. To the Environment and Energy Committee, Anita Arden Kayla for a term to expire March 31st, 2020. To the Mine Falls Park Advisory Committee,
These are all,
Michael Watt is that for Michael Watt or is that for
no?
the reappointments?
Reappointments.
I think these are reappointments.
Okay, all right. Let's see then. Brian Edwards for a term to expire March 31st, 2021. To the Nashua City Planning Board, Adam C. Varley and Edward Weber for terms to expire March 31st, 2021. And to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, alternate James P. Welch for a term to expire September 11th, 2020.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Is there any? Alderman Lopez.
I came late to the party, so I feel like I might have missed something with Michael Reinke. I recognize that he's not here. But I was just out of curiosity, if we're reappointing people who've already been in front of the committee, is there a real difference between having a reappointment versus a moving from alternate to primary? Because he did interview with us for the alternate position, and it kind of seems like the same thing.
What's the committee's pleasure? Alderman Wilshire.
If he's already been interviewed and no one has asked for him to come back, I'd be okay with moving his nomination forward.
Any other comments? Okay, would you like to amend your motion, Alderman Wilshire?
Would like to amend my motion to include the confirmation of Michael Reinke to the Conservation Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2020.
Okay, you heard the motion as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. So you'll be notified as to come in to be sworn in by the City Corporation Council. And Derek, would you let Michael know that he has been approved? I will. Okay, thank you. Okay, unfinished business?
We have none?
New business resolutions?
None?
New business ordinance.
We have ordinance 18011, updating the financial standards for the city's welfare guidelines. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
Okay, and I think Mr. Mack is here from Welfare. Would you like to come forward and have a conversation? Welcome. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the fee schedule that you're recommending?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you.
Yes, before you is the ordinance to update the financial standards. As it says in the proposed legislation, that every 12 to 24 months, or as markets change, the welfare officer reviews the current financial standards and looks at updating those standards to keep up with current market value in the community. So that is what we have done here and presented to you. The updates are based on New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority and HUD fair market rent standards, the United States Department of Agriculture standards for food allowances, as well as the CPI index. So in looking at those reports, we came up with the proposed updates to the financial standards to be effective for the next fiscal year.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the committee? Alderman Lopez.
I would imagine since market value is through the roof right now, that the standards have gone up.
Yes, some of the rental amounts have increased. Some of them actually have not, and I think that's with some of the larger rental units. And I think that's primarily because the number of units that they were able to sample was much smaller, and they didn't see any real differences in those units. But yes, the 1- and 2-bedroom units have gone up.
Alderman Lopez?
So I guess the corresponding question is, if the market values go down as housing stock increases and in the perfect world, landlords start having to be more competitive with their rent, would this rate then change to reflect that as well, or does it only go in one direction?
That's a good question, and yes, we can adjust them in either direction according to the market as it is. So if the rents do go down over the next 12 to 24 months, then we'll reevaluate that and adjust them accordingly.
Anyone else? I have a question. I noticed that this hasn't been done since 2007. Are you supposed to do it more often than 10, 11 years?
Actually, the last updates to the financial standards was for 2016. It started for July 1, 2016.
Okay,
So
Doesn't say
the
that.
actual guidelines themselves
okay, go ahead, I'm
are
listening.
amended less frequently.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's just a different,
Well, the analysis says the last permit fee increases for the department was in 2007.
oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong legislation,
somebody
I'm
else's.
sorry.
All right, you're good.
It's been too warm out.
All good.
Thank you.
It's still Monday.
It's still Monday,
you
yes.
had me thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Well, you know, you got to keep you on your toes, right?
That's right.
Do we have any other questions for ordinance 0-18-011? Alderman Lopez.
Sorry. The calculation we have is based on, you mentioned HUD's guidelines from the Housing Authority. Does that include an estimate of any reductions of other services that are offered, such as state programs or federal?
No, they basically come in and they just do a survey of the fair market rents within the community. So they
Okay.
don't look at, I mean, they do it statewide, but they don't look at other programs when calculating that. I do believe they may look at the cost of like utility services for apartments that include heat and electricity.
I may be misinterpreting. I was looking at the ordinance as it's posted, and it has a section for food allotment standards, maintenance allotment, and here there's language that says maintenance is equal to diaper costs. So I think I was getting confused by what I was reading.
Okay.
So it's not scaling proportional to shifts in higher level policy. It's just an objective. This is what something costs or needs are.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Right, thank you, Mr. Mack.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, yep, we have a motion on the table for final recommendation for ordinance 0-18-011. Do we have any thoughts, concerns? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, now we've got the other ordinance, 0-18-012, amending the fee schedule for the city building regulations. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend final passage of ordinance 18012.
Okay, all right, and I see we have Ms. Marchant here and, huh? Yeah, Mr. McKinney. Thank you. So now you already have my question, so.
So we're ready, thank you.
Thank you. So would you like to give us an update about the fee schedule for building regulations?
Sure. Sarah Marchant, Director of Community Development, and I'm actually here really to back up Bill McKinney. This is all his work, so I'll let him take
Great.
over from here.
Sounds wonderful, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee. I'm Bill McKinney. I'm the building official for the city of Nashua, and I'm here to discuss with you this evening our proposal to adjust fees for the building construction permits for the city of Nashua. It's important to understand communities need to maintain an updated fee schedule in order to better support all functions of the Department of Building Safety. Permit fees are an important component of offsetting operational costs of performing compliance plan review administration, inspections, and education that's performed by the department. Without proper fees, those costs are turned over towards the taxpayer rather than through the permit holder. So the last permit fee adjustments for the Department of Building Safety was in 2007. Through our budget review, cost comparisons, and some targeted reorganization of the department, we've been able to temporarily control the gap between expenses and revenues. Our study, conducted annually since 2013, determines the fees now charged by the Department of Building Safety are rarely covering the operational needs of the department. For some comparisons, in fiscal year 12, expenses, 2012, expenses were $446,000. I'll just round that. Revenues were $398,000. In FY13, we conducted a review of department expenses, staffing, and revenues, determined areas where cost savings could be implemented with the department through some staffing reorganization. Part of that was we elected not to fill a vacant inspector supervisor position. This resulted in the wages budget being reduced from $437,000 to approximately $401,000. In fiscal year 2014, we used portions of the savings gained from FY13 for additional staffing adjustments. That included promoting one permit technician to assist with residential plan review, which decreased our turnaround time of the permits and increased our number of permits issued in those years. We increased the hours to our part-time building inspector at the time, which allowed us to perform more inspections and in turn keep projects moving faster for the city. Additional training funds for cross-training of our inspectors was implemented, and that allows us to provide continuous service even when our inspectors may be out sick or on vacation. The budgeted wages for fiscal year 2014 was budgeted at $421,000. Our actual was $396,000. Revenues exceeded our expenses by $43,000 in fiscal year 2014 because of our adjustments. However, in fiscal year 2015, our expenses again exceeded revenues by $49,000. So our fee studies of several communities, which I believe you have in front of you, within our region and of comparable population communities, determines Nashua's construction-related permit fees are significantly lower than the majority of communities surveyed. All cost-cutting measures identified to make the department more efficient have been implemented, but expenses and revenues are again misaligned, and the only way we see to resolve this long-term is to gradually increase fees and to continually monitor and adjust those fees as needed every 2 years. This should be an ongoing process going forward so we do not fall so far behind again. And with that, I will entertain any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Well, I thank you for that information because it seems such a long time between you're adjusting your permit fees and knowing what it costs. And also because of all the building that's been going on, not having your inspectors, having enough inspectors can severely hold up a project. So I think this is great. So if this gets approved, what are you looking at reviewing the permit fees every 5 years or every 2 years or?
I would think initially, in order to get us back in line where we should be, I'm concerned to jump the fees too quickly, too fast, and impact the community. But I would think for the first couple of years, every 2 years would be sensible to review these fees and make sure that they're in line with the market.
Okay. Alderman Lopez.
It looks like this is more than just a fee update. There's some areas where language has been changed and maybe some of the fees have been moved to different categories.
Yes.
Like I was looking at multifamily versus townhouses, two-family.
Correct. When the international codes were adopted by the state in 2002, they actually aligned single-family, one- and two-family, and townhouses under one code, and multifamily and commercial under another code. They actually are under different codes. So by realigning our fee structure this way, it helps to coincide. It's very confusing right now when you're trying to determine that some of the fees for commercial, for resident multifamily get attributed as commercial, but other fees in that ordinance get attributed as residential. So it's very confusing for the contractors, for the developers, and for us when we're trying to determine what a fee calculation is going to be. This helps to put that all in line. We understand there's a clear separation between 1 and 2 family and townhouses and commercial and multifamily.
So the guy building his house doesn't have to read both books, he can just stick with the one that.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. The nice thing about the residential code is that it's an all-inclusive code. It includes all their plumbing requirements, electrical requirements, heating requirements, and construction in one book, where commercial does not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Wilshire?
Just wondering how much pushback you're going to get on this. Any ideas, any thoughts about it, or?
I don't. I think we've researched this pretty well, and like I say, as you can see, we've been researching this thing from 2013, doing our comparisons, and I'm hoping we'll have the answers. I anticipate some pushback.
Yeah.
And, but we are by far one of the lowest communities for permit fees, and we are not covering our costs.
Well, it makes sense to look at it then. I mean, we need to cover costs.
Yes, Director Marchant.
Thank you. I'd just like to add, as part of that communications out on this, the current ordinance says effective upon passage. I'd like to put forward the idea that if the board so chooses to move this forward, that very last line maybe be amended to say this ordinance shall become effective 30 days after passage. So we have time to put out information and materials to the community about the new fees. A lot of contractors put out bids in advance, and we'd like to give some time to be able to shift solely to these fees, answer questions, as besides through this legislative process, but actually through the counter process as well.
Sure, that sounds like we can certainly consider that as part of that.
Thank you.
I can amend my motion.
Yep, when we get there, yeah, okay. So when you say we're one of the lowest, in comparison to, let's say, Manchester, which is the largest city, are we that far in difference? I mean, you have a lot
Yeah.
of things here. Some of it is, you're not going up that much, but
Comparatively to Manchester, for a residential home for the city of Nashua, we charge right around, depending upon square footage and type of systems they put in, on average about $800 a home. In Manchester, that same home would go for about $2,900 in permit fees. Commercially, in the city here, about $2,600 for an 8,000 square foot commercial building. In Manchester, that would be right around $8,000.
wow, okay, that is,
So we are not trying to
Significantly
compete
low.
with Manchester.
No.
I think we should be more middle of the road there, and as we look at these communities, and that would certainly cover our operating costs.
sure, you're not trying to raise a lot of money, you just want to cover the expenses that you have, and that's a good idea, and that's why I asked the last director about this not being done for over 10 years. So I think that doing it in increments is a lot better than
Yeah.
doing a large leap. So, yeah, I think you'd have more pushback than, okay, thank you. Alderwoman Kelly.
I wanted to know if you looked at the types of permits and how often, like the frequency in terms of how you upped them. So like I noticed that like kitchen hoods went significantly higher, but possibly are not something that everyone's dealing with.
They're not an often permit. Kitchen hood really only comes in with a new commercial building, or if they have to do a replacement. They did go up significantly, but our staff time in inspecting and approving of a kitchen hood system, the codes have changed drastically since the last time this was updated. So there's quite a bit more involvement in that inspection process now.
If I could follow on it.
Yes, you may.
That was a specific example. I was just wondering if you gave any thought to, yes, the most the most permit that we get is X, and so we're only going to raise it by a couple of dollars because that's going to affect a lot more people versus something a little bit more obscure.
As we looked at where the permits lie and our staff time involved as far as reviewing the project and actually doing the inspection, the number of inspections involved in that project, that was taken into consideration. Our original goal was to maintain our fee increases on individual fees anywhere from 10 to 25%. Some of those you'll see are much more than that, only because of the changes in codes that require much more staff time involved in that. So yes, we did do those comparisons.
Great, thank you.
Alderman Wilshire.
So when you talk about like kitchen exhaust systems, you're talking about the ones with the ancillary system, I mean, the whole.
Yes.
Yeah, we have one of those. It's a little bit complex.
They can
At
be.
where I work, I mean, it's.
The actual way to do the inspection of that is actually called a light test, where we actually have to view each welded seam, and depending upon, how they put it through the building, and some of these get pretty complicated, rather than just going straight up to the roof, they decide they should travel through the attic in different directions, and it gets pretty involved.
Yeah.
So, those inspections can take anywhere from an hour to as much as 3 hours. So,
Director Marchant?
I think to follow up on that, we really looked at staff time involved with some of these permits, especially ones that kind of come in alone, because we were charging, a very, very minimal fee, $30, and that wouldn't even have covered the review time, never mind the time in the field, getting somebody back in the office, inputting everything into the system and processing the permit. So why we don't want to raise fees in any huge jump, we really had to be much more mindful of the actual time commitments associated with some of these permits that stand more alone as well.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, Alderman Wilshire, would you like to amend your motion?
I will amend the motion to say 30 days after passage instead of upon passage,
Okay.
the effective
Okay,
date.
so you heard the amended motion for ordinance 0-18-012. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion has passed. Thank you both for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Alderman Wilshire.
Ordinance 18014, setting parks and recreation fees. This has also been assigned to the Board of Public Works. A favorable recommendation was issued on 4/26/18. I will make a motion to recommend final passage of ordinance 18014.
Okay, and we have Superintendent Nick Caggiano from Park Rec here. I think he has some handouts.
Thank you.
Can we have 2 copies? An extra one so we can put it with the, do you have an extra one? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Caggiano, for coming in. We appreciate it. So
You're welcome.
you just gave us a handout, so would you like to
Sure.
talk about this?
So our fees that we charge for permitting fields, different activities, haven't been raised. God, it's probably been 20 years. And we're at a disadvantage because we're the only community around that has significant facilities that doesn't charge for use of fields or other facilities. And so if you're going to run an adult league for softball, you're going to want to play in Nashua because it's free. And so what we've been working on this for, probably 10 years, starting to come back and forth. And last year, the Board of Public Works and the director challenged us to put a update the fee schedule and put a fee schedule in motion. now that we invested last year in our new rec desk software, it's been working fantastic, and it gives us the ability to monitor this electronically versus having to have someone physically count all these permits. Basically, you pay online and you don't get your permit till your bill's paid ahead of time. So this is a little thing we did for the Board of Public Works, which they liked. And then additionally this week, the last page is a little spreadsheet, and we looked at some surrounding communities, what they charge, and you could see our fees are even our proposed fees are going to be very, very reasonable. I did ask Manchester, but they did not get back to us in time. But this is something that really needs to be done. And after this hopefully gets through, we're going to start a process of setting up the accounts properly so we can use these fees to help maintain the facilities that we currently use. You've heard it for years about the soccer fields, how they're overused. We don't have enough. We just did a big project on Charlotte Avenue schools. We're looking at Jewel Lane this fall to do some more work. So this is going to help us get into better fields and just hold people a little accountable to. It's really easy to say, oh, I want a field every Thursday for the entire year. And there's no way we can really deny them at this point. But now people are going to say, you know what, now that I have to pay a small fee, I'm only going to use it for April and May and let someone else use it. So it's going to be, I think it's going to pay off. It's also going to allow us to make improvements to our programs and our facilities. There's things that need to be addressed that we're going to be able to take care of. And we're also going to be able to upgrade some things, like on our recreation side. Some of our programs we could upgrade. Costs go up. We raise money for summer fun. The amount we raise continues to go up and up and up. And you can only ask the businesses to contribute so much, and they're so gracious to us. But entertainers, their salaries have gone up over the years too. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Alderman Lopez.
Yeah, I was just curious because I'm not really clear on. There's language in the ordinance that says that they can waive a Parks and Recreation fee upon a showing of hardship. So I was wondering what that entailed, and then also the Parks and Rec affiliated, because I know particularly soccer teams are getting more and more. They were the example that you gave where they're having difficulty accessing fields and that kind of stuff. So I hate to replace a logistical access with an economic access. Like suddenly they can't afford to.
That won't happen. Any child that wants to play in our programs, if there's a need to get them through it, that we get them through it. No one's ever denied. The teams that we've spoke to, we've prepped them for this. We started prepping them last year, and again this winter. They're all 99% in favor of it. They said the comments were, "It's about time. Why have you taken so long?" So no one's going to be denied access. It's just going to be the ability for them to have a better quality field and to make it very accessible for Nashua residents. And you'll see in that little chart, a city resident, there's no fee still for, you want to rent a softball field for a family outing, there's no fee. It's just the teams that are coming from out of town or are for profit that are going to be affected by this. The same with our youth leagues. Any nonprofits, Little League, Cal Ripken, Nashua Soccer Council, they will not be affected by this.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Alderwoman Kelly.
So I noticed that you put a fee for the first time to the band shell. I just wanted to know, does that cover anything else? Like, are there logistical things? I know there's power in there. Does that allow you to now turn on the power and have the bathrooms open? Like, what kind of comes along with that?
If you pay for the fee, if you're using the band shell, there has to be an attendant there. And you got to turn on the sound system. The sound system needs to be monitored. Bathrooms are open during the season every day from 7 in the morning till 10 at night. The park's open and closed. So those fees will be used to enhance the programs that we have and to make sure that the people that are going to rent the band shell are going to have an actual event there, not just have an employee come in, turn things on for 10 people.
Alderman Lopez.
Is there any chance you could throw in for the $575 fee, that cord that connects the phone to the sound system? Year after year, I'm holding a cell phone next to the microphone because we don't have the cord.
Yeah, we have the cords.
Oh,
What we find is usually people don't get the attendant. That everyone thinks they're a sound engineer and they're not. And usually the system is set up, it works, and you get the attendant and they'll take care of it for you. We have tons of cords in the back.
so there's service involved.
Yep.
All right.
Anyone else? Okay, my turn, huh?
Just one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The gardens, even at $30, that's a bargain.
It's a
And there's
bargain.
water out there,
Yeah.
and, I think that's fair,
Yeah.
you know?
And it'll be able to, we'll be able to do more with the water. We'll put in more spigots as time goes on. And right now, there's probably 10 people sharing one spigot for, we've expanded the gardens,
Yeah.
but we need to expand the irrigation as well. And they started planting this weekend, so it's good to see.
I'm done. Thank you.
That's okay. My turn. The gardens have been around forever, so, the increase there is a big deal. But all these, and I spoke to you, Mr. Caggiano, about this, I really have some concerns. I did get an answer back from Manchester. But I have several concerns. I don't have a problem with fees and things like that. My concern is, as you say, that someone wants to book a field and they take it over for 5 days and they're actually only using it 1 day a week. Well, I think that there's got to be a better way of monitoring that. Usually, you would not give anyone, unless it's a league like the Cal Ripken, because they have to sign an agreement, and those aren't being charged, right?
Cal Ripken.
Cal Ripken?
No,
None
not
of the
being
leagues?
charged.
Okay.
And the software, now that we have it, now we can monitor that
So you can,
much
okay,
better.
because I think
Before
that-
we weren't, because it's on a piece of paper somewhere. Someone took a phone call, then a day later, another rental, someone else took the phone call. Now, everybody's looking at the same thing on the same screen, and you could see those habits.
Oh, okay, so those are things that can be corrected in-house, trust me, I had a whiteboard behind me for
Yeah.
forever and a day, so,
I think it's still there.
yeah, probably, yes, like everything else, right? So the money that you collect from the band shell, is that going to go for summer fund? Because summer fund already had an account for money that you collected from sponsorships.
Correct.
So are you looking that the band shell costs is going to go into that account, or is it going into the general fund to offset the cost of your attendant?
No, we can't, we want it to go into the summer fund account, but until this legislation passes, I can't make any changes to any current legislation to accept fees. So this is step one. Then I have to meet with legal and financial services, Mrs. O'Connor, Miss Evans, and set up or tweak the way those accounts. So our goal is to have all these funds go into either a maintenance account for the facilities or in case of summer fun, have it go into the program.
So we're anticipating, did you ever do an analysis on how much money you anticipate?
Yep.
Total?
Yep.
Okay. To go into this particular account?
We think it's going to generate the first year about $4,500 for summer fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that the permit fees are going to, once it's up and rolling after a full year, it's going to generate about $12,000 to $15,000 a year they'll be put into an account so that if we need to replace a backstop at a field, we'll have a way to do that.
Okay. I'm not quite sold on it yet, but I appreciate that you took the time, after you and I had a conversation, you took the time to go through this and get us some more information so that we would be able to look at it. You know, I always try to keep an open mind. I just want to make sure that this money doesn't go off and goes into the general fund, and then you don't get to utilize it for the purposes that you would like to use it for.
Right.
That's my only concern, and I think that if you needed legislation for that, I certainly would be willing to help you with that.
We wanted to do it all at once,
But you couldn't.
we couldn't. You
Okay.
have to go through the
That's
steps.
fine. That's fine. I just, we've seen that happen before, that, you know, we look for funding and money coming in to go for a specific thing, and then it doesn't go there, and so you really haven't received the money that you were trying to generate. So I just want to make sure that this,
That's our goal.
okay.
That's,
And I certainly.
and that is what the Board of Public Works asked us to do
Okay,
a year and a half ago.
okay. Well, if the committee is in favor and the board's in favor, I certainly will be willing to work with you and be your sponsor for that.
That's great.
Because, you know, been there, done that, so I don't want to see that money go, just to go bye-bye. Okay? So, but I do appreciate you bringing all this information.
You're welcome.
Alderman Wiltshire?
I agree. I think that, you know, if you're going to start charging fees for this, which I'm okay with, because it just enhances the quality of the product that we offer here as a city, right? And, you know, the money going back towards what you're asking for is certainly something I would support, so.
Okay. Alderman Lopez?
I just want to ask what the condition of the band shell is. I thought I remembered hearing that it was like in a few years it might need some work.
The band shell structurally is fine. Probably could use a paint job at some point.
Okay.
The big thing on the band shell is the sound system. We've already rebuilt the speakers once, probably about, that had to be what, 10 years ago when
2002.
Mr. Bosher did that. It's time, and with the technology now, I mean, if you saw the scoreboard sound system at home, and you can do a lot with a much smaller, compact, and less expensive system to operate. So it'll come at some point.
Bluetooth, maybe? Bluetooth, maybe?
Bluetooth? I don't know.
Worth a try. I'm
too
still I'm still
technical.
mad about that.
I don't know about Bluetooth, because then anybody could, no.
No. Anything else? Anyone? Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes, thank you. I know that when you came before the budget committee, you talked about the price of acts going up, and that also included an increase at your Parks and Rec budget. Do you see this band shell fee, or, you know, some of the fees that are here, going to offset that?
Yes, in the future, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
And you took that into account? Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. We have a motion on the floor to set Parks and Recreation fees for use of facilities. What is your pleasure? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Caggiano.
Have a good night.
You too. Okay, and moving along. Okay, any discussion? No public comment? Remarks from the alderman? Anything? Oh, no non-public? Okay, Alderman
Motion to
Wilshire.
adjourn.
Motion by Alderman Wilshire to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:01. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.